Hello everyone, and welcome to this last part of this mini-series about this fragrance brand, which is Nube, or one of those, or whatever they chose to call themselves, because it's not clear even to this moment. And we will talk about the last fragrance that I have here, which is Sulphur. And this was the fragrance that I was most curious about, and this is how I do it. I tend to save the best for last, as always. I'm curious about this because I think that sulfur is the only element, I might be wrong, I'm not very good at this, but I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that sulfur is the only element from the ones we have here, mercury, hydrogen, lithium and oxygen, that actually has a smell. And this is again a fragrance done by Antoine, which is, I guess, a good thing, because I really like his work. I like his interpretations. I like them very much so far. The number 16 there is the atomic number. I had to search for that because I didn't remember from my time as a student. Okay, now let's see what this smells like. I have to say that all of them, with no exception, had this, as I said in a previous video, had this almost Mediterranean freshness to them. And sulfur, to my surprise, also has this type of undefined aromatic freshness to it, which is a very good thing, because I really like this type of fragrances. And it is very green. Again, it's a green scent. All of Antoine Lee's fragrances for this house that I smelled have been green fragrances, but this one is, oh god, it's another vegetal scent, and I think I was very right in saving this for last, because this is a very this is almost camphorous. It's a coniferous, almost camphorous type of aromatic green smell. It's very, very interesting, but it does have this vegetal smell about it. It's something that you might find in your vegetable garden as well, and it's something I do associate with the place where I'm at right now, because I'm in the mountains. There's a lot of coniferous smells where I am, balsamic type of things that you smell all around, and lots of aromatics, and it sort of promises a resinous balsamic smell, almost incensey. But it's very close to nature. Now, does it smell of rotten eggs as sulfur does? No. No, unfortunately. I was kind of expecting something a bit more raunchy. A bit more raunchy than this. I was expecting this unapologetic amber type of smell. Because, as I said, I didn't know anything about these fragrances, not at all. I didn't even search for the notes on Fragrantica before. But let's do this now. Let's see how this fragrance smells like. So this has Angelica, which is, I guess, that smell that I associated previously with the vegetable garden. Angelica is a smell that is kind of reminiscent of fresh dill. It's not very dilly. It's not into the realm of dill here, not so much, but it is quite leafy. Now we have grapefruit, which it is there. And funnily enough, it does remind me a bit of Abbé Rouge L'Instant, with all that entails this comparison. It's sort of, I don't want to say this, but it is sort of traditionally masculine, you know, in that sense. That grapefruit does give it that sort of vibe, because it's not citrusy, not necessarily, but it does have that almost type of perspiration kind of smell, which isn't all that bad, but it's a type of smell that you can find in traditionally masculine fragrances, like Abbé Rouge L'Instinct, which also has that grapefruit and some greenery in there, so that's the association for me. Then you have rosemary, and I suspect this is where the camphorous, almost coniferous aromatics come from. Then you have castoreum, which I'm not sure if it's all that obvious as a type of animalic bitter smell. There's something very bitter in here, but I associate it with grapefruit, not with castoreum, but I may be wrong. Then there's costus, cedar, oak moss, cinnamon, apoponax, which is sweet myrrh, and guaiac wood. And there's so, as I said, I was expecting this sort of unapologetic amber, and I am very, very curious about how this fragrance smells on the skin. I am curious about all of them, but I will apply this one because there's 5 of them and I wouldn't have been able to apply all of them, that's for sure. Maybe I'll apply one more, because I will do a recap in this video as well. I will go through all of them again. I always forget to spritz the back of my hand because I can't film with my entire arm in front of my face like this. And I don't know what to say about this fragrance. It's a very interesting association between that angelica and what I would call a very, very typical fougère type of smell. This is what it is. It's a fougère. It's quite earthy, and it is quite common. But again, it's a sort of, it does remind me a bit of Mémoire Man from Amouage, which is, again, it's a resinous castoreum smell. It does have something from Bel Ami d'Hermès as well, but it is very, very bitter. It's vegetal and it's very bitter, and I think this is why you can still call this an original and a sort of niche, sufficiently different smell that kind of does stand out from the crowd because of the way that it's so unapologetically vegetal and bitter. It's not something that you might encounter in the designer realm all that much. I don't know if this makes it better than anything else, you know. I don't think if it's necessarily a good thing. It's not either good or bad, but it is quite interesting, and that's a good thing. Now, is it something I would die for? I don't know. But it is, you know, as I said, sufficiently interesting, and I am glad I have it. I am glad I purchased it. I am glad this type of smell is in my collection, because as I said in the other video, I am just now realizing that I have 5 new different smells in my wardrobe that I will very much enjoy wearing, because they are all of them quite good at what they do. Now, this is a very typical fougère. It's I don't think there's anything more than this. But you know, it's beautiful in its own way. And again, on the skin at least, because it's not present, the guaiac wood and the burned aspect of the guaiac wood is quite evident here. And I think this is a good thing. Because there are sort of, you know, maybe if you stretch your imagination and if you do enough mental gymnastics, you might be able to associate this type of smell with the smell of sulfur. But sulfur is, you know, as I said, non-apologetic. If you want to make something that kind of induces the smell of sulfur, I think you have to work a bit harder than this. But what is interesting about this fragrance again is the bitter vegetal aspect and the burnt guaiac wood, which is, well, it's there. It is a beautiful scent. A few years ago I might have gone crazy about this type of smell. I don't know why I'm not going crazy about it now. Maybe it's because I'm overly saturated about, you know, about this type of fougère. But a few years ago, and for the fougère fans, definitely it's very interesting. And it still has that sour pickle smell again, just as Oxygen had, if I'm not mistaken. This is why I suspect that same sort of molecule in there might be that synthetic sandalwood. I don't know. It's not cited anywhere, so I'm not sure. But yeah, so let us go through them once again, and maybe I'll be able to give you a favorite, and maybe I'll use it, and maybe I'll use something on my other hand, which is free. Okay, so we have Sulphur here. I want to start with Oxygen because I found that Oxygen was the most delicate, fleeting, scent of all the 5 scents that I tried today. See, I can barely detect it on this piece of paper. So unfortunately, I will have to reapply it because it's no longer there. So this is a testament how this fragrance lasts. I think this is very telling. I mean, it's not long lasting at all, this Oxygen, although it did smell quite interesting. Oh, and this one, the second time I'm smelling this Oxygen, now it appears to be quite leathery, which is very interesting, which isn't something I smelled the first time I applied it. It's a leathery, very fresh scent, almost like eau de cologne type of smell, which is again very, very nice. It's very interesting, but unfortunately it doesn't last very long. Let's see if this time around it lasts a bit longer. Now I want to try Lithium. I want to try Lithium again. And Lithium was that patchouli rose that I wanted to leave it a bit to settle, maybe see if it turns into something else, maybe a bit more interesting. Now it didn't. It's just the same rose patchouli, incensey, spicy type of smell, very saffrony. It is beautiful, it is interesting. However, I don't feel that it stands out from the huge crowd of fragrances in the same genre that we already have. It does remind me of something from Merchant of Venice, from the Merchant of Venice. I don't remember which one, but probably another incense rose or patchouli rose. It is quite lovely. In fact, it's quite velvety. It's quite carnal, deep rose, syrupy rose. To call this lithium, I mean, as deep as this fragrance is and as dark as this fragrance is, I mean, it might be fitting, but not necessarily to my imagination. So let's see something else. What else do we have? We have hydrogen. Oh, and hydrogen just turned into a sweeter kind of smell. It's not as vegetal as it was. It's still a vegetal green, very much green scent. Just not as vegetal. It's a lot sweeter. The basil is much more pronounced. You can definitely tell this is a basil scent. It's a basil, citrusy, very light, fresh scent. As I said, I still liken it to Eau de Basilic Pourpre from Hermès. I think it's its closest relative. Let's see how this is on the skin, because I do find it a lot to my liking. It's very in my what I'm interested in smelling in fragrances in general. Oh, there's that very beautiful opening. It is gorgeous. Hydrogen. Yes, that's definitely in my top 3. Oh, yes. And let's go to Mercury. Oh, I think Mercury, which is even more metallic right now, it's a green, watery, metallic scent. I think Mercury is my favorite. I think it's the best done fragrance from all of these 5 fragrances. When it comes to a truly abstract element inspired fragrance, it's so good. It's so difficult to pull apart the notes. It's so difficult. I mean, the picture that it paints, it's so vivid. It's so good. Yes, this is my favorite. It was very easy. It's Mercury that I want to wear as my scent of the day, because currently I'm not wearing anything. This is the fragrance that I want to douse myself in. It is the most interesting, and I think it is the most well done, that's for sure. And I think it's the most representative for this collection. Now, where is the blotter? Yes, it's so metallic, so interesting. This is what I want to smell from this type of niche house. Yeah, if you're going to be clinical, inspired by the elements, with this type of message, very clean, very you know, different from anything else, definitely this is the one. And it's true that it still reminds me of that metallic part from Sécrétion Magnifique, a fragrance done by Antoine Lee as well, but it is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. Now let's go back to Sulphur one more time. Sulphur kind of, I mean, it kind of died down into this wishy-washy fougère. It was very interesting in the opening, but now not so much. So this goes back to the back of the list. So if I were to give you my top 5, you know, because there's 5 of them, the less interesting that I find right now is this Sulphur. Then next just a bit more interesting is this lithium, this huge rose, just because it's so in your face. I mean, it might be common, but it's still a fragrance that has such a lot of potential that I will definitely wear. Now you have, yes, Oxygen, without a doubt, because it is in my top 3. It's fleeting, it definitely doesn't last as long, but it is beautiful. And that leathery ozonic thing, I think it's quite unique. I cannot put it further up because it's higher up, because it's just such a fleeting fragrance, and I think it should stay where it is, but it's still in my top 3. Then you have Hydrogen, and then Mercury. This is not to say, so Mercury is my absolute favorite. I already told you that is the fragrance that I chose to wear. I will try to wear them for the next few days intensely, and I will give you my impressions on them in further videos, that's for sure, because they were very, very interesting scents. I do maintain this impression that this house was, you know, it's gone too soon. I think this house had a lot of potential because all 5 fragrances were very interesting, and I do like the concept behind this house quite a lot. And even Sulphur, that is at the very end of my list, it is a fragrance that has a lot of potential, and I do encourage you to smell it. I put it at the back of my list because it is the fragrance that I was most curious about, and it kind of let me down, but that's not to say that it's not still a beautiful fragrance, and it does have a promising trajectory, you know. I mean, it does have something to be discovered in this fragrance, and I want to see how this wears as well. So I'm still curious about this quite a lot. Now the other 2, Hydrogen and Mercury, I can say that I already got to know a lot better, and for the rest of them I will have to give them a lot more wears to see what they hide behind those compositions. Now, if you have any other questions regarding this Nube or one of those fragrance house, do let me know in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them. Yeah, this was my impressions of this house. It was, yeah, as you can tell, probably it was quite a good journey with me smelling their fragrances. It's too bad they're gone now. I believe you can still find them somewhere if you are curious about them. Until next time, remember, fragrance creates memories, and may yours be happy.